Ihlenganiso yendlu yamankosi.
United House of Monarchs, Verenigde Huis van Monarchs.
Just call me Hawk. Good evening, good morning, subscribers, fellow South Africans, family, friends, world at large, and all humanity. Before I begin today's video, please may I ask you to subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button, thumbs up for like, and the more likes, the more views. Hit the bell. The icon is there for upcoming videos. If the content of this video affects your soul, please share and share again. Please note that the Hawk will only give you the truth because the world needs the truth today. Donations are greatly appreciated as I've been using my own funds to assist South Africans, but at the moment many people in South Africa need help. Here's the link in blue, and you can find it in the description below, as well as my email address should you want to contact me. It is important that we get this message out to the world. Furthermore, please note I operate under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Any video clip, if any, have been used and found in public domain. The copyright link to the clip will be found in the description below. Please click the link to enjoy the full video if mentioned in this video. All views expressed are purely my own based on extensive research. I urge everybody to do their own research on the topic being discussed in this video. Please check you're not unsubscribed. Good day, this is the Hawk, and before we begin this video, I would like to share something with you. Remember, this video I'm sending you right now is one of a series of 5 people that are trying to change the face of South Africa in the midst of a nightmare created 25 years ago. We cannot judge these people. We have to see the objective ideas and why they are submitting these ideas forward, because solutions are what we need. Not pointing fingers, not blaming, not looking at the color of our skin, but seeing the truth of what it is and why we got to this point. Please have an open mind and listen. Just listen to the message. This man is giving you a history. He's telling you why and what is happening and where it's coming from and why it's a mess. The United House of Monarchs are trying to find a solution to a nightmare that is heading down a road to nowhere. And unless we find solutions today, I don't see a very good future. These people have come up with a brilliant idea, non-racist, non-sexist, where everybody is equal and everybody has a place at the table and everybody can contribute to the future of a land that has seen enough blood over 400 years. Good day, everybody, this is the Hawk. I'm here to introduce you to Bob Janson. He is a consultant to the United House of Monarchies. He has worked closely with King Umzimtukulu III and with the house, the royal houses, and they are great friends. And he's going to explain many things about this organization and why it was formed and what's the aim and vision for the future. Good day, Bob. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much for this interview. Much of South Africa are looking for solutions to what is happening and the disparities amongst many of the poor, and also the situation of corruption and many, many other serious problems that are going on in South Africa. Can you enlighten us on what the House of Monarchy stand for, what your role is, and what you see for the future of the House of Monarchies?
Yes, Hawk. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here. Very briefly, the president of the House of Monarchs, King Umzimtukulu III, That actually means the big tree in the Zulu language. He pulled me in during the national elections, which we started about 3 years ago, and I started as his Secretary General in his political party at the time, simply because we were in a business relationship, amazingly enough, with an American company, Eagle Rail Container Logistics. And he then said to me, okay, pal, you're going to be in, you're going to be my SG. Not that I'm a politician. We did participate in the national elections without any or without much success. And thereafter, due to the fact that we had been canvassing amongst many royals, paramount chiefs, and all their royal houses, the king and a number of the other senior chiefs then decided to form the United House of Monarchs, which is now a complete non-political organization, but where they are attempting to create unity amongst all the royal houses in South Africa. We aren't that many. I must make that very clear. We've got a maximum of, let's say, 20 to 22 kingdoms. And I want to clarify this, that each, let's call it nation, do have their own king and queen that they do respect. But far from being tribalist, we're not trying to go to tribalism. That is the last thing that we're looking at. We're just trying to unite the royal houses under their royal councils, and whether they're going to go onto politics, it's their own decision, but at this point in time, it's unification of the people of this country and nothing more.
No, that's great. It's also from talking to the king, he states that many of the indunas and tribal leaders, local tribal leaders, understand the needs of the people, whereas the government has lost track of the needs of the people. Many of the cases where municipalities are basically completely broke, corrupt, and lost track of what their purpose was in serving the people instead of themselves.
Yes, you know, that is a very sensitive issue. My personal belief is that we had an organization that was created, which was called CODESA. It was the Congress for the Democratic New South Africa, prior to 1994.
Yes.
My own belief is that there were a number of completely idiots sitting in that organization, especially from the white people side.
Yes.
People who do not understand the culture of our black brothers and sisters. I'm, thank God, grateful for the fact that I was born in an African state. I was born in Botswana. Unfortunately, at the time when it was still a British protectorate, I'm very honored to say that my godfather was a very senior black chief. As we call it in the black culture, he was the firstborn son to the second wife of the king.
Okay.
And his name was Chief Hwareng Mosenye. Now, I'm very proud to say that I could learn a lot about the culture. And I think that is one of the main reasons why I get along with them so easily. Now, coming back to your question on the municipalities, what these people do not realize when they took over, or what they did not realize, was the fact that if you're having electricity and you're having your roads, which are either tarred roads or asphalt roads, whatever you want to call them, and you're having your water supplies and your clinics and your medical issues and things like that, all of this needs to be paid for. And the only way that you're paying for this is from the taxes of the people.
Yep.
When these people took over, they suddenly saw these huge amounts of monies in the bank accounts. and not realizing the issue where the money has got to go to. And this is where the corruption started, and people then suddenly laid claim to these amounts of money, and resulting in the fact that most, if not all, of the municipalities got bankrupted. Very recently, not 2 weeks ago, there was an audit that was done by the National Auditor General, where not one single municipality in South Africa was given a clean audit.
Not one.
Not one. And the same thing applies to what we call our parastatals. Why do you think our national electricity supplier, Eskom, is in the dire straits that they are in? Because they are not being paid by the municipality.
No. And the problem is, for instance, during the 94 elections, they promised Soweto, for instance, they wouldn't have to pay electricity if they voted for the ANC. Well, free is free.
Other things.
Yes,
yeah,
and now it's got to the point where Soweto owes something in ridiculous amounts of money, like something like about 20 billion in back paid electricity bills that they refuse to pay for. And
yes,
they are demanding that they get $100 rand bills a month, and they'll pay that. Well, that's not realistic when the rest of the country's paying 1,000 rand a month for electricity. People can't afford that. I mean, listen, it doesn't matter how you look at this. Somebody's going to pay for something. Otherwise, it doesn't work. After a while, there's nothing left.
Yes,
also,
yes.
with what you just said about the municipalities and the money, I understand that during the apartheid era, many of the blacks were disenfranchised. And this we understand, we know. Education was lacking, opportunities were lacking, people were denied. We understand that.
Yes,
That was 25 years ago. One has to also take into account when I'm looking at this as well. I can understand when people came into these municipalities, they saw the money and thought, you know what, we were denied, we're going to take. We were owed this money. The reality of that is the leadership should have realized that in the long run, if you do not build it, they will not come.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem is they took and took and took, and now there's nothing to sustain it.
Yes, very true. We've got the same situation, Hawk. If let me just start again. On your South African national government side, we have virtually every single state department is totally controlled by the state into South Africa. If you take your rail networks called Transnet, your pipelines, which is bringing up all the fuel from the coast where it's being refined, your national airways, your national broadcaster, be it radio or television, all state controlled. When the new government took over, they literally opened up the borders, and we were flooded with people, not only from these countries, but from Angola, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, Burundi, all over, and they were not stopped. And coming back to my point, you had hundreds of thousands of people marching onto the United States not 2 years ago. And what did Donald Trump do? He did not allow them into his country.
Yeah, he shut the border down deliberately because it's unsustainable. We cannot do it.
The same thing is happening from Syria, through the Mediterranean. Everybody is being put into refugee camps where they are being kept, except maybe Angela Merkel, who said, I can take 1 million people, not realizing that at the rate that these people reproduce, that 1 million within a few years is going to become quite a few million. But in any case, that's a small problem. The point is that our farmers, to a certain extent, we can blame them But on the other hand, our locals were not prepared to do farm work. And they were saying, we are now in charge. Why must we go and work on the farms? So our farmers employed mostly Zimbabweans and Mozambicans. And now the situation that we're having, where our farmers are being killed, literally by the thousands, and I've got figures that I can put out, where our farmers are being killed, and they are being killed by gangs that are being led mostly by the Mozambicans and the Zimbabweans. And I'm sorry to say that, but I can prove it.
Yes.
So to a certain extent, our police force, they are not qualified to get hold of these people, to get them into camps where we can control them and repatriate them back to their places of origin. We don't need them in our country. It's not our South African black people killing the farmers, because there are just as many black farmers now as white farmers.
Yes.
So there has to be a system whereby we could address the police force. We could even maybe bring in, with the defense force, we could bring in commando systems. We could even look at our military veterans that are in the region of about 650,000, and we can clean out the whole rural area, and our people can move forward again.
Yes, and you know, I was aware during the elections in '94 that Makanya, I think it was Makanya was the name, they all Zulus that live in Mozambique. There is a tribe of Zulus that live in Mozambique. And many of the Mozambicans would come across and they would hand some of the locals, people, 300 Rand at the time, which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
In an AK-47, and they would go down to the registrar and say, "This is my cousin, no birth certificate, no proof."
Yes.
They would sign them up before the election. Immediately, they would apply for a passport. None of them could speak Zulu. They could only speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
And they were going back to Mozambique, and they were bringing in more and more legally into the country.
Yes.
Because people sold these guys their citizenship for 300 Rand, which is now backfired on them.
Yeah.
Because many of the crimes in Natal or KwaZulu-Natal are committed by these people, and they're hijacking cars and they're running them straight to Mozambique. Everybody knows it. They don't know how to stop it. Gun running, you name it. And
yes, but this is, sorry, Craig, this is our problem. The moment we have a situation whereby we are now having the crimes that are being committed, these people are unregistered, they are undocumented. So if they run back to where they are from, how do you now get hold of them?
Exactly.
So it's a major problem.
Yes, it is. So with the United House of Monarchies, with the local communities can get involved in local crime prevention, which is a great idea. Report to the police who these people are. If they know they're criminals, arrest them, do citizen arrests, and take them to the police stations and demand that they be removed.
Yes, again, looking at the cultural side of your monarchs, and unfortunately, just yesterday, our president again signed 2 acts. The one on the Khoisan, we've been waiting for a long time for the act on the Khoisan, but then he goes and he marginalizes the Khoisan again, and he takes their powers away.
What did he do?
And this is our problem. You cannot marginalize your traditional leaders.
What did he do? What did he sign?
Well, he signed the act recognizing the Khoisan as a tribal issue, but taking away all their traditional powers. In other words, whatever they could act upon in a traditional culture that has been there for thousands of years, that has been taken away. And now it's fine. Now there's an act in place, but the people are very, very dissatisfied. And if you maybe speak to one of the Khoisan leaders, you could raise this with them, and they will tell you What are the powers that they've lost now?
I will today.
So even looking at this, if you look at your traditional leaders, each traditional house has got a royal house that exists, and when that royal house has its meetings, they only discuss issues that are relevant in their area or in their region, for that matter. They will never interfere with another region of another royal, but once the united house is in place, then you could have, on a very regular basis, you could have meetings with these united house monarchs, and you could sort out the major problems that exist in this country.
Yes, I feel that what you've just said about Ramaphosa is Ramaphosa realizes that should he give the Khoisan recognition with governing powers, that they will lose control, and they know it. This is fear. This is fear.
The first thing that will happen, with the Khoisan, what I can tell you now, and that's as far as my knowledge is concerned, the Khoisan claims that they were the first people in southern Africa, and they also claim the region of the Western Cape, where Cape Town is the capital city.
Yeah.
That should be their land. And so they would now, for instance, get up and say, we want all this land back to the Khoisan. So I would assume that's one of the reasons why he did sign it in the way that he signed it. Very difficult to classify this into one single point. It's a major, major issue. That's why I mentioned the CODESA thing earlier. What we need, if we want to use the word the CODESA, the Congress of the Democracy of a New South Africa, if we want to look at that, we need in this country actually a CODESA too.
Yes.
Where all the relevant people can sit down, and not only a few guys drinking wine in the afternoon and saying we had a wonderful morning, and that's what happened.
Exactly.
We need to sort out the problems in this country, and it's not a big issue. They can be sorted out, because you know what? Most of the people want to sort it out. There's only the top brass of the ruling party that have gained a lot of money through fraudulent issues and things like that. They are the guys who are a little bit hesitant at this point in time, but they will be dealt with.
It's coming. It's just a matter of time. And there's certain people, certain parties like the EFF that needs to be resolved immediately. These people are a cancer to the country. They are not, in my opinion, helping the situation. They're actually exacerbating the situation and making it far, far worse. They're inciting the unemployed. They're inciting people with violence. They're inciting people with murder. They're inciting people in land invasions. I actually suspect that they're behind a lot of these farm murders. I may be wrong, but from what the intel I'm getting, they are behind many of these farm attacks. When certain people are evicted from land, here comes busloads of EFF members that are there to burn the houses down, beat their owners, rape the children and the wives and everybody, and burn their equipment down just because they can't get their own way. And the law does nothing about it. And if the law does not prevail, you have no law.
Yes, you have to, Craig, you have to look at an organization like the EFF. Why were they formed? Julius Malema was heading the ANC Youth League.
Yes.
He was then removed from his position due to his behavior. He was removed, but then he was approached by Zuma, and Zuma asked him to help him remove Thabo Mbeki and to get him recalled so that Zuma could become president. Subsequently, Malema was made certain promises which were not kept, and he then jumped up, being the rebellious guy that he is, and he formed the EFF. Now, what I would recommend to the House of Monarchs, if I could recommend anything, I would say to them, the easiest way to deal with Malema is to go to his royal house where he originates from, go to his chief and lay complaints and charges against him in the cultural way, and that he should appear in front of his chief. Now, if the chief finds him guilty, I'll tell you now, and I'll be very blunt about this, he will be shambucked like he's never been in his life before.
And he knows it too. You know, given the fact that, and I'll go back to Zuma, the minute Zuma got into power, the corruption became so rampant and so fast that the country collapsed almost overnight.
No, absolutely. If you look at the farm murders up until the year 2012, and well, in actual fact, not only the farm murders, but all murders in the country, were just over 1,000 per annum. And then suddenly the EFF stepped up and everybody was shouting, and I'm not saying this is all originating from the EFF, but everyone started shouting, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. And it escalated to such an extent that the year 2015, 16, and 17, in those 3 years, we had 20,000 murders in this country.
Yes. Now the UN has classed South Africa as the highest murder rate in the world, of half a million people since 1994, and it has increased since then.
It has not only increased, it has ballooned.
Because there's no law. The racism is so rampant. And, you know, I talked to a high-ranking royal the other day, and he stated that the racism is so bad on both sides that it sickens his heart.
Yes, I would to a certain extent say there is a high level of racism, yes, but on the other hand, when you look at people, I get telephone calls on a daily basis. I even had today 2 phone calls from people who asked me to make appointments for them so that they could see certain royals. And I'm talking of certain black individuals who called me from certain areas who want to meet royals from other areas. Now, it indicates to me one thing, and that is that the cry for unity is coming from all areas of the country. We can work together. Although we had an apartheid government and the black and white were segregated by means of interaction in laws and things like that. But to a certain extent, this problem can be solved by dialogue, and it can be sorted out.
It can be sorted out, yes, I agree. Bob, thank you very much for this interview. I'm going to interview one of your colleagues now as well, Steve Barnard, who's he's starting these micro farming projects, showing people how to do subsistence farming and you know, trying to create jobs, which is a great program. I'm going to talk to him as well, and I appreciate this because, you know what, I believe that, you know, I honestly believe that there is a way around this problem in South Africa. That solutions can be made really quickly. One, anybody that has committed corruption, all their assets need to be seized and removed and put back in the government.
Yes.
Secondly, they need to be put in jail as an example of what
Absolutely.
Anybody that incites murder, rape, anything like, or racism, such as Malema and Co., they need to be jailed. And people need to realize that you cannot do that anymore. This is the 21st century. And any policeman that is racist, corrupt, or has violated the law need to go to jail too.
Absolutely.
These politicians are not there for themselves, they're there for the people. And if they do not understand that, they need to be removed. If they've committed a crime, they need to go to jail. Same with the police, with any politician or leader that's out there, and municipality leaders. They think that they are above the law because they're there and they can get their hands on stuff that belong to the people, not to themselves.
Yeah, I was just, if I could mention something very quickly, I was in a meeting about a year ago in a place in Mpumalanga, and I was sitting in the one corner there, and the chief and all these ndunas were there, and the one councillor was also sitting there, and one of the ndunas stood up, and he asked the councillor over, and he said to him, "Look through the window, please." And he said, "You see that shack down there? That's where my chief has to live in. But the house that you are living in is a double-story house that he had built himself from funds that he had taken out, which was actually earmarked for the community."
Yeah.
Now their traditional leader has got to live in a shack, a shanty shack. Now this is what is killing us. We cannot afford our traditions to be treated in this way. And what you are saying about the police, if you look at a number of your very, very senior policemen, they either owe the politicians a favor or the politicians owe them a favor. So they get into these very high positions, they're unqualified, and that's why the people under them do not have the leadership to act upon what is happening in this country.
Because they don't earn respect. You got to earn respect. It cannot be given. And
exactly.
And Bob, I'm going to be honest with you, and they need to be aware of what I'm about to do. I'm about to investigate every single one of them, and I'm going to expose them all.
What we need there, Hawk, if I could interrupt you again, sorry. What this country needs, the way I see it, and I'm not a judicial person, but my view would be, we're going to need a special court that can sit in every single town of this country. And look, our courts are absolutely flooded with pettiness and, you know, housebreaking and theft and things like that. Now you've got to get these guys in line that are committing these very serious crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is, because of the fact that the courts cannot handle everything at the same time, they get bail and they're out for a year or two before they get back to court. There should be special courts like these people who have looted the VBS Mutual Bank and things
Yes.
like that. They should be arrested immediately. There should be no bail whatsoever until they appear in court. And from there, if they're found guilty, they should be put in prison.
And all their assets needs to be seized immediately.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Everything needs to be seized immediately so they can't transfer it overseas to Swiss bank accounts and South American bank accounts. It needs to be immediate.
Yeah, and it's so easy to follow that footprint. I mean, a number of these people have had their wives go out. Get hold of those passports and see where they've been, and go to those countries and see who they visited and in which banks the money has been put in. Why say it's difficult? It's a very simple issue to do it.
Yes, just like the Gupta's assets were seized in the United States, all of their assets were seized by the U.S. government because they were using U.S. government aid funds to enrich themselves.
Exactly.
And now,
but then,
now the United States government's asking England and Europe to do the same with the Guptas.
Yeah, but now remember, a number of years ago, when Mugabe was doing exactly the same thing in Zimbabwe, he was expropriating land from white farmers without compensation, and they were. He sent his army up into the DRC. He was paid in diamonds.
Yeah.
And then the United States government saw what was happening, and they took the top structure of the ZANU-PF, and what did they do to them? They also put a total embargo on them.
Yes.
Now, why can a country like the United States, like a guy like Trump that I mentioned just now, why can he not say, we can do the same to South Africa? Forget about this thing that we've got a Moses leading us. We do not have a Moses. He hasn't got a stick. If he wakes up in the morning, there's no stick for him. I keep on looking to the eastern side every morning when I wake up, and I do not see Moses coming.
Yeah.
And Why are these embargoes not placed on these people who have taken millions and millions and millions?
Yep. Yep.
Not only the Guptas, but our local people as well.
Yep. And you know, when Mugabe died, they were boasting that $2 billion worth of funds and assets were to be divvied up between his wife and his children, not the
Right.
people of Zimbabwe, while they're starving right now and their government's about to collapse. I'm surprised that the government has not seized everything that Mugabe's had.
Yeah.
Put it back in the government and get the country back on its feet. They had to go to
Yes,
Russia for
absolutely.
funds, and now they collapsed again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
That's sad situation.
I could just say something about our side. Our ruling party is not in unity. Our ruling party at the moment is under 3 factions. And to a certain extent, I feel sorry for our president. He's got to rule, but he's not in a position to make all these, so shall I say, hard decisions. Because then they just kick him out or they recall him. We've now suddenly built up a reputation of being a country where it's very easy to recall a president.
Yep.
And why should the president be recalled if he's only doing his job?
Yeah. He's between a rock and a hard place. But listen, I don't care what anybody says. If you're a leader, you need to be brave enough to stand up to the evil that has perpetuated the country. And he has been held ransom by the South African Communist Party and COSATU.
Yeah. I'll go back to Trump. I mean,
millions, and they're putting it in their pocket.
You know, what did President Trump do? He went, he got on a plane the other day, unannounced, flew, and he went and he had his celebrations with the troops in Afghanistan. I mean, this is a guy that's prepared to stand up and to take a decision, and that's what we need in this country.
Exactly. Well, Bob, thank you very much for the interview. I appreciate all this information. Hopefully people will take heed of what's going on in South Africa, and the future has to change. It has to get better. It's got to the bottom now. We're in the barrel. We cannot scrape anymore at the bottom of the barrel. People have now realized that what they have had for 25 years is not working. Something else has to change, and it has to change now.
Yes, thank you, Hawk. It's been great for you having me here. And as you say, after 25 years, we've gone absolutely, as you say, down into the barrel. There's nothing left.
There's nothing.
And we need assistance. We need assistance from organizations such as USAID and organizations such as that we can get the House of Monarchs moving, that we can get rid of, as you said earlier on, the people who are in positions that do not deserve to be in those positions. Not that we are racist and say, let's get rid of them. They are very good people, maybe, but we need to get qualified people in there.
Yes, you cannot, I could go on for a long time. But the police now need to be aware of what I'm about to do. I will investigate the entire hierarchy of the police down to the sock size, and I will expose them. Because if the law does not prevail, you have no law, and you cannot have cannot have people in there, because once you do that, you have compromised your system of law and order.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Craig. Thank you very much, and thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Bob. I leave you with this prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power of the glory forever and ever. Amen. This is the Hawk. I'm out of here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell.